distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a great privilege to be here with you. There was a time when, as very young persons, we looked forward to a holiday in Jaffna. That used to be a dream. Right now, I'm in the northernmost part of the country, but I was born in the southernmost part of the country. So here is a very interesting situation where a southerner is thinking it's a great privilege to be with our brethren in the north. So thank you very much to have welcomed me here. And also I'd like to thank all the organizers for arranging this great event, because I think, as you would hear later, His Excellency the President, Mahinda Rajapaksa, he is here. He will also unfold his vision, what he expects to do in the coming years. But I would like to probably take you through very quickly, not take much time. In an audience like this, I think we need to place before you certain factors that is propelling Sri Lanka. You had listened to a great oration by the illustrious Prime Minister of Malaysia, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, and his vision for his country. As much as Dr. Mahathir had a vision for his country, I want to tell you, being Secretary to the President, I can say this with a lot of responsibility, that His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa too has a great vision for this country, to take this country forward beyond 2020, not just think in the next 2-3 years, but even think beyond 2020. You may probably remember when he presented this budget last year, he indicated that Sri Lankans should be looking beyond 2035, 20 years hence. So that's the vision that our country's leader has. Just to maybe make my presentation into the right perspective, I'll very quickly go through this. In 1948, when we gained independence, our GDP was a mere 867 US dollars. But you could see in millions, of course, 867 US dollars. Having gone through many tribulations, you probably more than us, you have lived in an area where it was ravaged by terrorism, and you had had many difficult times to go through. But somehow, being the resilient nation we are, here we are today, picking our threads and moving forward. And if you see today, Sri Lanka's GDP is 67.2 billion US dollars, which is a huge growth. Even if you compare 2005, it's a 2.5 times like growth. So that's how Sri Lanka has been able to grow within the last 9 years. Per capita income, a lot of people talk about this. Per capita income has grown from, of course, in 1948, the economies were small. People were not earning very much. But I think today, with the economy growing, we are having an open economy. Economy is not just limited to Sri Lanka, but to the entire world. We are linked with the entire world. Obviously, our per capita incomes have gone up. But the most interesting thing is that it took from 1948 to 2005 for our per capita income to get to 1,241, 10 times. But from 2005 to 2018, you see that it has grown 3 times. That's a significant thing. This is the dividends of peace that we have in Sri Lanka. So I think all of us have been contributing to this. This is how our economy has been growing. I will then talk about unemployment. This is probably the time we have the least unemployment in the country, just with a mere 4%. But a lot of economists, a lot of sociologists, a lot of people who understand the dynamics of this, they say there are many people who are employed but who don't report that they are employed. So it might even be, in fact, might even be less than 4%. But I think this is how, once again, our economy is growing. This is a very interesting table. I'm sure gentlemen here, the ladies here, very well educated, people who do understand the dynamics of economies of countries. If you look at this, from 1971 to 77, our growth of the GDP was just 2.9%. From 1978 to 1988, that's 10 years, the average growth during that 10 years was 4.5%. If you go on like that, I'm not going to just read the whole thing, but if you just look at this, in 2016, we anticipate 8.5% growth. I want to just highlight this fact. From 2006 to 2013, our average growth rate has been 6.8%. Inflation, once again, is something that we can be quite happy because it also indicates that the cost of living, the rate at which the cost of living goes up, that's basically what inflation is all about. I think this is how, once again, we see this. For a long period of time, we had double digits, but here we are now, today, less than 5%. Our health, as you know, has always been free. Since 1945, you and I are the recipients of free education because of Dr. C.W.W. Kannanga, who was able to bring the free education bill. At the time, the British was ruling this country. If you go through the free education bill, the contents of it, the submission made to the House of Representatives at that time, it's very interesting because Dr. Kannanga made the point that for a country like Sri Lanka, we have to provide education free because that's, I think, the generation here, we are recipients of that, and you could see the life expectancy also. These are all cumulative things, free education, free health, it adds on, and from 2009 to 2013, it has come up from 74.1 to 75.1, but from 2004, it's a very good increase from 67.9 to 74.1. This is, a lot of people do not understand and sometimes even want to provide wrong information because they don't like to say that the government is doing well. But I like to tell you these are from central bank reports. These are not cooked up figures. These are genuine, factual things. Anyone, if you would care to look at, the central bank report is published in English, Sinhala and Tamil. Anyone can refer these things. But I think just to tell you very quickly, foreign direct investment from 1978 to 2005, when it was 101.1 million US dollars. From 2006 to 2013, we have 901.6 million US dollars as FDI. I will pass this. The number of vehicles that people use. These are also indicators of prosperity. You know the number of vehicles that have come on the roads of Jaffna. We see a large increase in the roads of Colombo. These are figures from the Department of Motor Traffic. 2.2 million vehicles, roughly in 2004, has almost doubled to 5.2 by 2013. This is something that His Excellency has always been happy to talk about. As he always would say, this was one of his dreams, to ensure that every household in this country has electricity from the national grid or from any other source, to ensure that they get electricity. Now, these are figures from the national grid, from the Ceylon Electricity Board, but people get when 73% of the households had electricity in 2004, today we are happy to announce that we have 96%. But I think the 2014 figure is even better. 98% of the households in Sri Lanka, they have got electricity. Pure drinking water. I believe His Excellency would probably talk about this. He is very keen to ensure that Jaffna's water problem needs to be sorted. And I think in that sense, he has already made huge investments. He had made huge plans. The other day I was listening to Honorable Dinesh Gunawardena saying that one of the biggest water and sanitation projects will be for the northern province, particularly for Jaffna. So I think this is something that is very interesting. Supply of pure drinking water. We want to ensure that 100% of our households do receive pure drinking water by 2020. I am also the chairman of the Telecom Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka. This is a figure that we think is indicative of the fact that people are learning, people are using mobile phones for transactions, for networking, for maybe going to the internet and learning. There are enough and more tools today. The number of phones that have been sold in this country and actually the connections is over our population. The most recent figures are, it's about 21 million mobile connections for a population of 20 million. People with internet, these were things that probably you did not even talk about many years back. 10, 15 years ago, this was not something that the normal households enjoyed. But today, ladies and gentlemen, people use internet, people have access, but we want to ensure that there is good broadband internet access. In the next 5 years, you will see a huge improvement. At the moment, we have about 2 million households having access to internet and email. One of the key achievements of this government, in 2004 when Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa was the Prime Minister of this country, in April 2004, the subject of IT was given to him, in addition to being the Prime Minister and the Minister of Highways. He obviously wanted to know the population's ability to use IT. The usual parameter for this is IT literacy. But Sri Lanka has never done any survey on this matter. So he obviously asked me, what is the IT literacy of this country? I was the Secretary to the Prime Minister at that time. So we had to do a very quick survey, but it took 6 months for us to do that. Having done that, we reported to him that IT literacy at that time was just 4.8%. Today, ladies and gentlemen, it's nearing 50% because of the commitment of the government to improve the IT sector. Now, these are figures that you would like to reflect on. If you look at the export revenue from IT and business processing operations, business outsourcing, as well as management, our export revenues have gone up from 213 million US dollars to 720 million US dollars. We are looking at $1 billion industry. If you ask the IT professionals who are here, SLASCOM is the organization which brings together the IT companies, IT exporters, software exporters, those who deal with BPOs, those who deal with BPMs. If you ask them, they are looking at $1 billion industry. By 2020, they want to take it up to at least 5 billion US dollars. They think there will be a huge growth. Now, this is probably where educational institutes in Jaffna, universities in Jaffna, technical schools in Jaffna, the vocational training institutes here could contribute to the enhancement of IT literacy in our country. And also, we need to have more IT graduates. We don't have that critical mass that can take Sri Lanka as a key IT producing country. So we need to be producing more engineers, more software engineers. So I think at that level, we are only, I think today, just creating about maybe 1,000 graduates a year. That's certainly not enough. We need about 5,000, maybe 7,000 IT graduates a year. That's how the large companies can come here to do their work. And this is something that they look at, the extent of the ability to employ locals. That's very important for companies that are doing very well in the world on IT. So these are very interesting figures. The number of companies you will see from 170 to 2007, it has grown to 225, signaling that Sri Lanka is a great destination. I would also like to talk about it a little bit more. Sri Lanka's rural IT access and what you know as Nanasala, meaning literally meaning outlet for wisdom. This won the world's best award, which is called Bill and Melinda Gates Award for best internet access to rural populations. There are $1 million award, which was given to the ICT agency of Sri Lanka for us to move ahead. His Excellency the President, when presenting the budget in 2015, declared that every Grama Niladhari division in this country, that is 14,000 Grama Niladhari divisions, each one would have a Nanasala. So that means in the next 5 years, we will see 14,000 Nanasalas throughout the island, wherever, whether it is in the north or the south or the east or the west or the central hills. Doesn't matter. If there is a Grama Niladhari division, you could be assured that there will be a Nanasala in the next 5 years, which means rural children who do not have access through a home-owned computer or any other device will be able to access internet, learn IT applications, and also probably use it as a resource center. This is very important because if you look at the number of schools, I think, if I remember right, the northern province has 93 Mahindodaya laboratories. Throughout the country, there will be 1,000. So that will also add to enhancing of IT literacy of our children. Local television channels have gone up from 2005. In 2005, it was 13. Today, it's 24, meaning that people, those companies, find it lucrative to disseminate information and telecast so many programs. More and more radio channels for new vistas of communication. I will just go through very quickly. Growth of newspaper publications to promote wider readership, 90 in 2005 to 191 in 2013. Having said that, I would like to probably, this is my last slide, but I would like to also talk about very briefly about the government's vision for the next so many years. I will only very briefly say it because I think the articulation of the government vision will be done to you today by His Excellency the President in his address. But I will just briefly say that when he presented the two Mahinda Chintanas, that was firstly in 2005, he gave this country a promise. I will ensure that there is an honorable peace in this country. Today, all of us enjoy this. Today, we can move anywhere we want. Gone are the restrictions. You don't see barriers, you don't see bunkers, you don't see forward defense lines. Those in the south can freely come here to the north. Those in the north, I know I had friends from the north who schooled with me. And one of their key activities, once a year, they wanted to go to Kataragama in the deep south. These are some of the things I think that we have seen becoming a reality. Today, with the opening of the Yal Devi train from Colombo to Kankasanture, which used to be the case, I think this is again going to improve communication, this is going to improve transportation, this is going to improve the way you move around, for people to do business, for people to learn, for people to work with each other, for companies to integrate. This is extremely important. You need physical transportation. You also need good communication. So I think in that sense, Mahinda Chintana 1 said, let us, prepare the ground for it. When His Excellency the President contested in 2010, his Mahinda Chintana vision for the future elaborated on what he said in 2005. He wanted to ensure that our infrastructure is well done, that we have good roads. For the first time in this country, we are seeing highways. Soon, maybe in another maybe 3-4 years, people who are in Colombo will be traveling here on the Northern Expressway, for which His Excellency the President has already laid the foundation just about 2 months back. So we are seeing a huge transformation of our country, both by way of improvement of physical assets and infrastructure, and by way of opportunities for our children to grow. His vision for our children is that they must be global citizens, not children who are can be employed just in Sri Lanka. They need to go out. They need to be able to have skills which can make them comfortable anywhere else in the world. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, in fact, I was the chairman of this presidential task force to ensure that our children learn all 3 languages. I think this is extremely important. I sometimes regret that my school did not teach me Tamil. Had I learned Tamil, I am sure I would have been speaking to you in Tamil today. I regret that my school did not do that. But His Excellency, having seen the vision, in 2011, he declared that this country must provide opportunities for its children to learn all 3 languages. First, their mother tongue. Second, the other language. The third, the linked language, English, for which I think he is making a great effort, because if you go to any Mahindodaya laboratory, you will have a mathematics lab, you will have a science lab, you have an IT lab, and you have a language laboratory in addition to the library that it will host. What better facilities for learning than the one that has been provided so far? We have seen a huge improvement in the school system. Schools are looking much better. Classrooms are looking much better. Above all, I think the quality of teaching. We need to be looking at quality of teaching. We have great educationists here. We have vice chancellors of universities, former vice chancellors, who do understand what education is all about. There is a great similarity between the South and the North. Those of us who are in the South, our parents would even pawn their houses to educate us. Similarly, I have heard it from my friends here that your parents, your forefathers, always thought education was extremely important to surge ahead in the world. So I think there is this similarity between the South and the North, that we place great emphasis on education. We are extremely lucky that His Excellency the President, as a Southerner, entertains this great idea. And that is why he wants to ensure that children of tomorrow, children of today, and future generations yet to be born will never have a problem in going further, irrespective of where they come. That is the most important thing. One doesn't have to be someone's son to forge ahead in life. It has to be that he is capable of doing it. If he has the merit to do, I think that's what our education has always been fostering and supporting, and that His Excellency's vision is also exactly to ensure a child who does well forges ahead without any impediment. So I think, my dear friends, it's a great privilege to be here with you today, articulating some of the thoughts, articulating what the government intends to do for the next 4 or 5 years. Our vision is very clear. The vision that emanates from His Excellency the President was presented to the country just about a couple of weeks back, when he presented the 3rd version of Mahinda Chintana, Path to Success. It's a very interesting document that is, of course, available on websites. It's also being printed and distributed in Sinhala, Tamil, and English, which furthers his vision that he has proven all these years. During the 2005-2014, the 10 years that have been in office, he had proved that a leader, if he has a vision, that he can take any country forward. I think in that sense, we are extremely happy that he is going to be here with you today, share his thoughts, and probably you would also be able to talk to him because he is someone who loves to talk to people one-to-one. So I think with those words, my dear friends, so I think that's a great opportunity for me to be here. I don't want to try my Tamil impromptu. That's not something that I would do in public because this is a language I honor. This is a language I respect. As you would know, in 2010, His Excellency the President, when he took his oaths, the Secretary to the President is the Master of Ceremonies. In the past, all my predecessors, they spoke in their mother tongue, that's Sinhalese. Then they spoke in their link language, English. And they got an interpreter to say the same things in Tamil. When His Excellency took his oaths in 2010, that was my first occasion to officiate, he directed me. He said, I don't know how you're going to do it. I want you to do the entire thing by yourself. I don't want anyone else for you to employ someone else to do the Tamil version. So with great difficulty, I as I always say, I regret that I did not learn it from my young age. So with great difficulty, I did try, and there were some parliamentarians from the north. One of them walked up to me and said, for a moment I was wondering from where this Jaffna dialect was coming. I think I was pretty good in doing what I did, and I must say I enjoyed it. But since then, I have not spoken in public. So I think the request I cannot accede to today, but I promise you that in future generations, those who hold office such as ours will be able to use all three languages in a manner that will respect those languages as well as those who speak it. So let me, with those words, conclude my address, and once again to tell you how great it is to be with you here today, because we feel that the north or the south of this country, wherever we are of the same Sri Lankan origin. We need to make sure that Sri Lanka is a country where anyone can live without any fear, without any discrimination, with great hope, because our children must have that assurance that they will be able to do well wherever they are, whether they are in the south or whether they are in the north or whether they are in Colombo. So thank you so much.